international body of qualified homeopaths. She is BHMS from Government Homeopathic Medical College from Bangalore University in 1999. She has a PG fellowship in homeopathic psychiatry from Pioneer University, UK, 2010. She is also a diploma in mental health and counseling from NIMHANS accredited SCARF Institute of Chennai, 2019. She has also been trained in advanced classical homeopathy under the tutelage of legendary Professor George Wittelshaus at Ellensois, Greece in 2019. Her experience, as far as her experience is concerned, she has been independently practicing since 1999 at Mylapore, Chennai. She has presented various papers at various national and international webinars and has also compiled a medical book on the treatment of autism by homeopathy for training homeopaths in various aspects of autism spectrum disorder. So the introduction is actually too long. Yeah, her contribution to homeopathy is huge, and we are lucky to have her in the group. So, Dr. Rekha, over to you now. You can begin.
Yeah. Yes. Let me start. Once Rachana can share it, we'll continue. Yeah. My topic today is what to expect during treatment of addiction. Yes. Thank you. You have to change. Okay. Fine. Yeah. What to expect during the treatment of addiction through homeopathy. So this is today's topic, and I am here. Yeah, to talk about addictions in general. So even I when I started my practice almost till 2018, I had no idea about so many things about addictions. So I used to treat all the cases which came to my clinic, like alcoholism and even nicotine, this and all. Normally, we used to treat the other cases. And when I did my course in SCARF about mental health and counseling, then only the first time I could understand that this is not uh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is there are so many myths about mental health and uh, one second. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Dr. Rashna, can you share this PPT, please? That was not the one. Sorry for the trouble. I sent you this, another one. Extremely sorry, friends. Today it is very bad day for me, I think. It is going wrong again and again. Extremely sorry. Yeah. I was talking about uh, what to expect during treatment of addictions through homeopathy, right? So when it comes to addictions, It is defined as a chronic relapsing disorder characterized by compulsive drug seeking. Compulsive drug seeking. And medically, there are two categories: substance and non substance addictions, and may risk fractures predispose individuals to both. And in particular, a history of risk taking behavior, genetic predisposition, propensity for stress play a role, and use despite adverse consequences. So the person is knowing that this is not good for me, but he is in the under a compulsion to use it, though he is knowing that it is very bad for him. So there are two varieties of abuse addictions. Basically, that is substance addiction. Mm, yes, it's visible. Yeah, next. Yeah, this one. So there are types of addictions. So that substance abuse, that is we know, all of us know, alcohol, opioids, stimulant addiction, cannabis, sedatives and tranquilizers, uh, and hallucinations, inhalants. And behavioral addictions are gambling addiction, internet and gaming addiction, shopping addiction, exercise addiction, food addiction, and sex addiction. So these are our types of addictions. So now we know that addictions are not in control of the person, so that they can. How can you explain to this for common people? That we will be talking now. So addictions is a chronic, relapsing brain disease which leads to medical, psychological, and social complications. The activity outlines the importance of the interprofessional team in treating patients with addiction to ensure the best long term outcomes. Dr. Rachna, next slide. Yeah. And interpersonality. So we can't be handling it alone. But my point is, what can we homeopaths do in our clinics? So we have to be collaborative as we can do whatever we can in our clinics. So both the things I am discussing. And participating clinicians review the importance of considering holistic approach to the care of their patients. So it's a multifactorial. So we have to approach it with the multifactorial viewpoint. Yeah, Dr. Rachna, next one. So, as a clinician, what we homeopaths can do? See, you can see the states with most drug cases, but it is not only limited to this, right? Each state has its own burden of these drug cases and substance abuse cases, and it's very alarming and very sad to note this. So, how we can contribute about this? Next slide. So, what is the objectives of addiction? Addiction is rooted in genetic, neurological, and social environmental exposure. Genetics is predisposition by familial thing. It could be any psychiatric disorder or even the same abuse by his parents or grandparents, like alcohol. Neurological, you can understand. There are so many other factors. So the typically all those things come together to make up the problem bigger, or it could be under control. So social and environmental, this is highest in at our time, we can say. Even my kids know that there is a very rampant availability of drugs in schools. And I was not aware, like when I asked, they say, yeah, it is so common in our school. It is little less comparatively, because uh, our principal and all are very very strict, and they are very vigilant. But that is a very common thing in all very famous schools and all. So that was a very shocking thing for me. See, we don't know about our own kids. They know so many things. And then that is one very important thing. And recently I was reading about vaping. Vaping is, I was not aware. I was aware of inhalants. I was aware of other things, like they use with the cigarette, or they will burn some uh, like hallucinations or MDMA, those things and all. So they inhale and they get high. Vaping is a term to be very safe comparatively. So that is the way it has been propagated, but it is not true. They will be e-cigarette like. They will have puff of some air with flavors as well, like fruit flavor and so many other vanilla and other flavors are also there in that thing. And it is dubbed as it is safe for especially kids between 11 and 19, it seems, up to 24. So on that pretext, they will do what their peers are doing. So it's like one way of peer pressure, especially in high level societies and all. So but it that generates 20 cigarettes amount of nicotine if that puff is taken. And so you can understand the how bad it could be. So that is vaping. And then these are all based on the social and environmental exposure. Recognition of these and levels of health of the patients can help treatment planning. Why I am telling is, see, when in 2018 or 19, no, in little bit before. So one boy came to me and he told he want to be he was around 19 years. He was studying in a college, and he told me that he want to be a script writer. He has director's sons studying with him. So he told me he takes cannabis and it is not addictive. Okay. Uh, the point is, so how they are convinced that drugs, they won't do any harm. It is not addictive. I can leave it anytime. Now I want to live, I can live. That is not addictive. And then he came to me just out of all his circles. Fine. Nobody should know that he is getting treatment. And why he was coming to me? It was nightmares. It was so horrible nightmares that he couldn't sleep for days together. So next day, while going to sleep itself, he will be very terrified. So for that only he came to me. And also he had some other issues also, cold, cough and sneezing and other things also. So I treated him. I gave him, along with his medication, I gave him cannabis indica as well. After that, he didn't come. I think he is better. Fine. He clearly told, I want only this symptom to be relieved. You don't have to give any treatment for anything else. That means he will not be revealing. That is the thing. So I started with Naxvamica and then I also gave him cannabis indica, and it helped his nightmares. So this is the way narratives are created, where gulliby kids are dragged into these substance abuse. And for that, we homeopaths, how much ever we can do, we have to try to do that. And mental health support systems can be, yeah, I usually use potencies around 6 or 30. 6 is the idealist because it can be given long term, every day in that way. Or sometimes some specific, like Naxvamica 1M is the best potency suitable, especially in these cases. So I based on the patient's sensitivity and how they react. And then we can create mental health support systems. Like if we can work along with psychologists and other personnel, so we can initiate mental health support systems where kids are not ashamed that they are not taking drugs or they are not into alcohol. So I heard even from someone that almost all medical students will be exposed to alcohol. So whether they are using or misusing or abusing, whatever, that depends on the that person. So it's such a like alarming thing. And if we know certain things, then only we can help mobilize mental health support systems where kids are not ashamed of not having any uh, substance, they don't have any habits. So that is a biggest issue. You understand that? peer pressure is so high. And then and also family, we have to mobilize the patients and family members to educate their well wishers. Those with conditions like anxiety, depression, and ADHD, they will have exacerbated substance use when patients are tormented by people's action and interactions. So it happens so many times. I will talk about that later. Not today. I will be talking 2 days on Sunday again. Then I'll detail. I will talk about that. So why I am talking about ADHD and other things means. Um, they are already into lots of issues, especially they have lots of emotional issues and trauma and other things. So those factors push them towards abuse and self-harm. So that is my point. Yeah, please, next slide. Yeah, what are the key issues? Here we can see how it affects the brain. I will send the PPT. If possible, I will send the PPT. Yeah, see, it affects the brain and their normal day-to-day activities. Too much of it will be affected. It affects the heart, lungs. Of course, nicotine and all, and liver is the most damaged part. Mm, and they are into the loop of not able to come out of that problem. So that is the key issues. And when it is in the toddlers, especially screen time, so it leads to brain rot. Brain rot is not a official thing, but it is like they will have less amount of exposure to environment. Mostly there will be speech delays, and also kids will not be as normal as they should be. So they are not inquisitive, they are not mimicking. I have seen such a case where the child was with mother and father. It was not in India, and they both are working really hard. Both didn't have any time for the kid. That was around 2.5 years, and every day her mother will do noodles because that is the only thing she can do easily. And if there's something husband says you have to take care of the child, she will start fighting. Why I alone should take care? You take care. So she's a very high profile, very highest level of achievement in her career. So I'm not here to judge anyone. Okay, I'm only telling the uh, consequences of their actions. I can't say that why she got married or why she had a kid. No, no, I'm not here for that at all. And all homeopaths should be very, very, very clear about that. They should have never have any judgmental words towards their patients or their people. Sometimes we tell uh, in a goodwill or something like that. That also will have lots of implications. We should be very careful about words we choose. And I'm only telling the consequences. And the child was, of course, you can understand. She till 2.5 3 years she didn't develop speech. She was very dull and always sit in the corner. And her grandmother went and she saw the plight of the child, and she was so attached to the grandmother, she will cry like anything if she comes back to India. So she took efforts, took medicine from me and gave to the child, and now she is in normal school. Yet her troubles are not completely gone. She has still sadness and other things which should not be there in the kids. Yeah. So what my point is, so in toddlers nowadays, I have seen even mothers, they will just hand over their phones just like they are giving some chocolate. They will only come, and even the child will not ask, "Give me your phone" and all. Father or mother, usually mothers. Hmm. They will give, oh, okay, you play for something. And they will be scrolling like anything. So professionally scrolling, 2 year olds. I was literally shocked. Even I can't scroll like this. What is this? But very difficult to make them understand this. This Gen Z, very difficult. Yeah. Next slide, please. So, yeah, what is inside the brain of an addict? So, yeah, inside the brain of an addict, see, they will take the substance is consumed. Dopamine floods the brain, triggering the reward system. Hippocampus locks the memory of pleasure. Hippocampus locks the memory of pleasure. That is very important. And then prefrontal cortex loses control over logical decisions. And memory and emotions drive relentless cravings, overpowering reason. And then amygdala links it to triggers like people, places, or situations. So it is a memory. And then nucleus accumbens craves repetition of the substance or habit. So the point is, so when a substance or when even behaviors take over your brain, you have no control over it again. And then dopamine actually does not create any feeling of high or feeling of happiness. It retrieves the feeling of happiness. So today one person took alcohol, he don't feel anything at that point of time, but afterwards he will feel some good about that. So that memory uh, floods to his brain, and then whole system is changed to get that feeling again and again, that memory again and again. So but dopamine has that will stop itself. Okay, you are aware of that. So you don't have to um, everything is controlled in our brains, but you need more and more dopamine generation to retain that happiness, and one point of time it does not do that, it stops completely. And then you will have the withdrawal symptoms, and they will have lots of issues with everything, every problem they will face. So that's why they are from the level of use, they will progress to the level of dependence. Only those persons who are having difficulty in uh, uh, like self control or some other things. So that is based on the levels of health of the person, and that is again that will be decided by genetics, environment, and also the person's uh, brought up. That will also have that opportunities. Okay, so that also determines. And so, what do you think? Uh, what is addiction? Does that matter if it is addiction of substance or behavior, or whether it is alcohol, drugs? What do you think? What is addiction? Is it about the person's character? Is it about the person's control over himself? What is it actually? What is your thoughts? Please tell me. You can type or you can, yeah, dopamine, but that is very concentrated point. Dopamine is only part of that whole big picture. But what is behind that dopamine surge or craving for that dopamine? Why dopamine crave occurs? So ultimately, it all comes back to the health of the person, right? So basic health of the person, and especially, yeah, habit formed. Even habit is formed for the 3-month-old baby, and they won't leave their mothers, isn't it? So that is also addiction, right? And you will be aware that 1 year baby, it is very difficult to wean them from the bottles or mother feeding and all, very difficult. So that is also addiction, right? So the point is, addiction is not at all related to substances or the external factors. It is completely about the brain, and it's what we can say disorders or something like that. So when I was talking to Dr. Sunita Anikum recently, by courtesy Dr. Alka, I was asking her, and she told so beautifully. See, there are 3 stages. It will be a condition first, and then it will turn into a disorder, and then it will go upon into a disease. So, the progression of addictions, any type, progression of addictions from condition to becoming a brain disease, everything depends on the capacity of the brain to tackle the substance, isn't it? But few things are there which not easy to control, like opioids or even meth and all other substances. So it is you can't overcome them with your own willpower or your brain health and other things. So it should be very clear that you should not get into certain substances at all. Okay. So when usually I will experiment with things before I know. Even now, every drug I buy, I will usually experimenting upon myself. That will have so many troubles for me anyway. But I understand the drug a little bit. I think a little bit. So I was thinking of taking one sip of alcohol so that how it feels like. So when I told my mentor in Bangalore, he told alcohol is okay once you can take, uh, but never try smoking. It's very addictive. Oh, yeah, I didn't try at all. So, but alcohol we don't even have to try, right? We know everyone knows how it tastes. Anyway, so why I'm telling is it's very essential to tell our patients. So addictions are related to brain, not about the person or personality or his parents or what his parents are doing for him. It is not external things. It is totally individualistic and related to his brain. And this was, and this is the basis of all the conventional treatment of all the addictions now. So they coined the term holistic treatment procedures, except homeopathy. I don't know why. Yeah, fine. Next slide, please. Yeah, care, how we can care them. Case taking with appropriate details. But this I will tell with my experience. Listening to the patient is the topmost, because nobody has listened to him till now. Nobody. His parents will be crying, howling. Oh, we gave you so much of things. You got everything you asked for. That, this, and all. They will be crying, and all the people around them, they are judging, and friends are afraid of him if they are like not having any this thing. Fine. So the whole world is against him. They are making him a culprit. You are the reason for this. You are the reason for your family's problem. You are the reason for this, that, this, and all. So it is so. Nobody listens to their actual problems, isn't it? They are trying hard to come out of it so many times, and they are unable to. So showing the subtle compassion, not pity. They don't like pity. Okay, so especially people with autism or ADHD and that type of category people, they'll be very offended by pity. Okay, they will just throw away everything and they go out of it because for them, they're very sensitive to each and every word, your body language, everything. So you should be little careful. So we can't say, "Ye mera mercy." No, we can't say. You have to be little careful about it. And even in your mind, if you feel sorry for them, no, they will stop treatment. Even in your mind, no. You should be just mm, like a news anchor who will say, "Oh, this is happening. So many people died. That happened. There it fell." No emotions, right? Well, he does not show any compassion or anger, nothing. So maybe you have to be like that, inside, but not total inside. Not to be offended or taking personal. They will abuse you, surely. Okay, they will talk rudely, directly, especially people with type of people who are um, autism or ADHD type, AU ADHD types. So you should not take it personally. It is not personal. But definitely disrespect should not be bared with. You can uh, dodge it. You can dodge it, or you can say subtly that no, this is not needed. We'll move on to some other subject. So it should be a very fine balance. Yeah, and focus on what can be done rather than thinking about what he was telling all the whole story and all. They'll be repeating same stories. Instead of that, we'll cut short the things. We'll let them talk, but we come to the point where what can be done for you. That focus and refocus is very important. Believe what patients, that is very essential. So many times, no, we know about patients through their parents or other persons, and we also can understand through what we have observed and what um, and especially in drugs and other things, there is a tendency to lie also, but still you have to appear you believe what they are saying. That is very essential for the rapport to build. Afterwards, like the patient improves to some extent, they get insight after homeopathy only. I have seen only after homeopathy they will get the insight. After that insight, you can confront in the sense you can tell what is what. So till then you have to bear with the lies, if it is lies. So you have to make them understand you are believing what they are saying, so that the initiation of the treatment starts. But you sense something not right, be alert and take steps for the safety of yourself as well as your patient. So usually I will be telling it's confidential only. But in one case, when I spoke to him, I felt little off. The way he was speaking was, I was a little worried. I told his parents, you be around him, don't be inside his room, be around him. Just check on whether he needs water or something like that, subtly. And don't tell I have told you. He was talking about some self harm. So he said something like that. Those words were there. So be around him in that way. So you have to make sure some help will be available if something he feels off in that way. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So the gist is the clinician should remain non judgmental, empathetic, genuine. Acknowledge that alcohol use can be difficult to talk about. Assure confidentiality. Yeah, alcohol, not alcohol, all the substance abuse. Obtain patient consent before taking history, and which is very difficult, isn't it? Very, very difficult. And especially about uh, what I was talking about. Yeah, safety, and confidentiality. Confidentiality is always one-on-one basis. We have to assure them 100% confidentiality. That is true. But as I told you, if there is a chances of self harm, or if they are lying, or if they have some uh, other than uh, some other motives, so you should be alert. So the point is, being alert is very essential, especially in this area, unlike other cases. Especially psychiatric cases alone, we have to be very alert. And our surgery HOD in Victoria Hospital, when we were doing our internship surgery postings, he was telling his brother alone came and he was trying to stab when he didn't get the opioid medicines. So you understand that he's a surgeon and his brother was treated for some injury, and he started having uh, opiate, some drugs he was addicted to. And the point is, even the surgeon has to safeguard himself. So that will be the intensity of persons who are having these addictions. So you should be careful whenever it happens. So that is my point. And then, yeah, patient consent. See, this is 50-50. I can't say. I will usually, before I went to this scarf and all, no? Then I very easily treated with family members' help and all. But now, so many things have attached. So they are very sensitive about patient's confidentiality, consent, and everything. So actually, it differs from India and other countries, especially Western countries. But still, we have to keep up to the standards. Okay. So now I will tell their husband, wife, or parents, or whatever. You bring them if possible, or you tell them we are giving for their common troubles like cold, cough, fever, and something like that. And after that initiation, they usually come to me. We'll talk to one on one, and most probably without their parents, and then we'll initiate the process. And it will be a very like tight rope walk. We have to be so slowly. We have to build the rapport, and then we have to help. So this is same for all psychiatric cases. Yeah. Please next slide. Yeah, how to explain to common people. Actually, this slide it jumped and came here. It was second one, I think. Anyway, mm, yeah, you have to tell their parents and all well-wishers and the people around the person who is involved that anything which cannot be grown out of, you can't outgrow it, got over, or pushed willfully. No, I will stop alcohol from tomorrow. No, completely I will stop. That is not happening. Victim has no control over it. Cannot be controlled by willpower without medical help. Without medical help, it can't be controlled. And which has on your mind always, uh, even stopping daily activities or at least hindering your personal growth, creativity, work progress, and personal life at stake. No energy for things important to you, even though you wish to do that. And what is it? A compulsive, chronic, physiological or psychological need for a habit forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects, and typically causing well defined symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea upon withdrawal or abstinence. And this is addiction. Addiction is a brain thing, and it is a same thing for all the type of addictions, but its intensity and uh, craving and the anchoring power of the additive substance or whatever will vary with the amount of its severity. Like as I already told, drugs are very addictive, and alcohol is also. Alcohol is not actually addictive. Okay, not all people on the earth drinking alcohol are addicted to alcohol. Only if in a office 20 people go for a party, two of them will be addicted. But now in movies they have made it compulsory for the especially for the hero to be a addictive to alcohol. It is a compulsion now, unlike the previous era where after heartbreak or some especially after heartbreak only hero will have some alcohol. Now it's not the thing. First scene will be opening with alcohol. So we have to mental health professionals and all doctors, I think we have to talk about this. Very very important. isn't it? I don't like at all. I don't watch movies at all nowadays. It's so disgusting. Yes. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yes. How we are homeopaths doing? Case separatization, treat in 3 levels. So same thing what we do, but we'll do little focused efforts also. Especially phase remedies, it should give them respite. That is very essential, and it should be dramatic. They should find help immediately. And then constitutional remedies, yeah, and then detox remedies. Detox remedies, even though they have been treated conventionally, detox remedies are very essential. And early identification and prevention are essential, especially in screen addictions. As I told, it is very, very, very important, especially to empower mothers of toddlers to teenagers, that screen is as bad as alcohol. Okay, so brain is definitely suffering, and the child will get into lots of trouble because of screen. So when we create that awareness, and we have to first detox the mothers as well, including me. See, whenever I had some feeling low and all, no, I used to play one game. My mobile does not have any games, no movies, nothing. I don't. I'm a very boring person. Yeah. I only live for homeopathy. Everywhere homeopathy only, in our house. My husband will be telling, you are addicted to homeopathy. Okay. So I will download that game. Once I will get some points, no, that will give me some high, and I will be playing for 3 hours on a that mode. So I understood. Oh, okay, this is not good. No, why I'm doing this? But still, okay. When I am feeling very low, no, I can play for 1 or 2 hours. That is okay. But I will delete it immediately. Okay. So I will get in on and off based on my mood and other things. So it's usually it will not be in my control also. So that is very essential. We have to treat their mothers as well before we treat the person who is with addiction. And then mm, yeah, inborn tendencies that we know, no, congenital traits like schizoid personality, other things, psychiatric base, if it is there, we have to treat that congenital traits, and circumstances and current environmental based. So we talked about that, especially schools, colleges, where they are pushed into such things. And we recently saw in Tamil Nadu, actually, in news, there was a two boys. That boy was just he came to the hostel only few 1 month, maybe 1 month before, and he was given substances to abuse. So maybe he was not very much willing, and when they went to college, they were held with those drugs and all. He committed suicide, that young boy, maybe 17, 16, 17. I felt very bad. So he is pushed into something, and he couldn't cope with the shame, guilt, and he committed suicide. It's so sad, right? And not for his own, not even a mistake, or he didn't do that. Huh? So sometimes it is so sad that such things happen. So it is very essential to empower our kids that it's above, your life is above the guilt and shame things. These things can be overcome. These things are temporary. The worth of you does not depend on only one single thing. So we have to empower our children, isn't it? It feels very bad, very sad. So marks, or doing some mistake, doing something, getting reprimanded by the college, or even banned, debarred for a mistake which you haven't done. You haven't done. So you don't have to own it up. So we have to empower our kids. If you have done that, of course you have to go through the thing. So we can guide them for assessments and screening, usually validated tools. which allows timely referral and tailored support. For example, dopamine dependency or unusual cravings. Yeah, dopamine dependency is a very common thing for everyone, isn't it? Even everyone, we would have gone through all those things. We'll be hooked to something which is very nice at that point of time. You wish like even it could be sweets or something like that. So that is not exactly a problem, but it becomes a problem when it goes out of your control. Your brain is involved; it is damaged. So that we have to do the screening, not essentially labeling, unless it is very serious in nature. When it is serious in nature, definitely you have to label it, and then you have to send for the all the essential things to be done. We have to take support of psychiatrists, um, and then psychologists. It's a team effort. They will do counseling, cognitive behavior therapy. But of course, homeopaths will be doing cognitive behavior therapy uh, informally. Okay, our type of each and everything we do is psychological support only. But still, sometimes they may need professional help as well. And then they will have group therapies, which will be very helpful. Like, but it's very difficult to drag the person to the therapist, and that is the biggest problem. And that only God can help you. Nobody else can help. Even parents can't do that. We can't do that. So, and then, yeah, next slide. The outcomes. Presenting complaints improvement should be noted by a brief retaking of case each consultation. Each consultation, you have to retake the case every time, briefly. So, in that case, whatever are the problems he had initially, whatever symptoms he got aggravated, those list I will have. See, the patient had initially came for cold and sneezing. I will ask next time also. Cold and sneezing is there? No. He had a fever after starting the medicine. You do? Did you get fever anything in between in this week? No. That way. So I'll have a small checklist and I will send them and I will ask them. Okay. Then also it will be one worded answer from them. So always try to call them and talk to them or ask them to come to your clinic. If they are people pleasers and they are addicted to persons, they will come to your clinic. Okay, it will be like they will flood you with requests and visits. Okay, that you have to bear with. But if they are not like that, they will be very negative type of people. No, they will be very adamant and they won't be very indolent. So that also we have to handle. But still, that internal satisfaction, no, we are trying to help someone if that is possible, and that should guide you. That internal light that should guide you. Yeah, detox of substances confirmed by lab test or conventional specialist consultation. So, what I am talking about means detox, especially like alcohol. We have to detox. How? With our remedies like Naxamico, Alosarcotina, craving reduced with ignitia. So many remedies. But even sulfur group of remedies are very good. Not exactly sulfuric acid in every case. Sulfur iodide also has been very good, and sulfur has been very good in that way. So it has a capacity to change the brain circuits. And after that, we can give remedies like alosa, putting alfalfa, and avina sativa. And depending on the case to case, even bacopaminary, so many mother tinctures can be utilized. We can go for potentized form of the same remedy, like I told about cannabis indica, coca, cocaine, but I have no uh, experience with that. Opium has been top. Every time it has delivered without any doubt. Every time. And then in that way, we have to detox. The same substance in potency is the best detox. That you all know. I don't have to tell you. And continuation of counseling and supportive therapies to prevent relapse or even if relapse occur, it should be make it least health hazard. Yeah, that is a very essential thing. We have to continue with the support, even though they will not come to you after certain level of improvement. They will stop. Parents also stop. Even the concerned person will stop. Sometimes they will come back after 6 months or 1 year, mild relapse, and that's a good thing. But anyway, you have to keep checking on them, even though they get annoyed. You don't leave them because हम किसी को सेव कर रहे हैं ऐसे में. Okay, so we have to think in that way what to do. So we have to feel proud about ourselves, isn't it? So there are coping mechanisms for homeopaths. Yeah, next slide please. Yeah, conclusion. Substance dependence is a chronic brain disorder, many adverse consequences. Detoxification, anti-craving medication, psychological therapies, self-help groups constitute comprehensive care. I mean, with homeopathy, all these things: detoxification, anti-craving, psychological therapies, and also maybe conventional drugs also, because as I told, few things we can't handle alone with homeopathy. And then psychological therapies are very effective. And then family physician and homeopaths, this I have added. Okay, integratively can effectively handle withdrawal management as well as pharmacological management of relapse prevention in substance use disorders. So this is the conclusion. And then I have one more slide. I will talk about that later. So let's discuss about cases. It's very, I'm extremely sorry for the delay. Let's talk about cases. If someone wants to tell their experience. Yeah, so many people had opted that in the poll. Okay. Yeah, if someone starts telling their experience, till then I will tell a few of my cases. One case, he is having alcohol. He has alcohol problem. Okay, so in his teenage, um, he had a psychotic episode. That means he was confined to a room for almost for 15 days after a heartbreak. Okay, so his mother had that uh, what say Arul walk or something. Means God will be talking to her directly. So you can understand she is actually like a saint or something like that in their village. So that means he could have psycho schizophrenia type thing actually. So he is into alcohol abuse as well. So it's like he had that psychotic episode for 15 days, and then he recovered from that with his mother's help. And then he had alcohol abuse syndrome, and then he recovered from that with conventional treatment. He has epilepsy, and he gets it every now and then, 6 months once or 1 year once, whenever he is very tensed. And then I was treating for him for his depression. Okay, afterwards I came to know all about all these things. And imagine, I couldn't believe that he could overcome alcohol problem, alcohol abuse. It was so astonishing. See, seeing his record of schizophrenia, family history, and his psychotic episode, I couldn't even believe that it can happen, and that too with only conventional treatment. Why I am telling this is, we homeopaths believe that we are alone carrying the baton of helping our patients. No, that is not true. It can be achieved by doctors, especially compassionate psychiatrists, the team of doctors and psychologists and other things. We have to believe that we can be part of the team so that we can help our patients. And another important point here, what we can think of is his levels of health is very good. So that matters. And that is the difference between why we have so many varieties of outcomes. So I think not just homeopaths, everyone, every medical professional should understand the levels of health of the person, and that will help him sort out so many things beautifully, isn't it? So we can give tailored help to each of them. So, and he again started abusing alcohol, and I treated him. And even he don't have epilepsy now. He don't have alcohol abuse. He uses alcohol, not abuse. So why I am telling is, uh, see, I have no credits in this. I have only treated him symptomatically. I have treated him constitutionally as well. But the thing is, he has that inside him. He is curing himself, right? He is overcoming his problems again and again because of his levels of it. So that is my point. So taking the credit is not there actually in medical profession. And I will tell, like, don't get offended. You should not think like legends who present with, say, I did this and this was the outcome. That is not true in homeopathy. Homeopathy is always in the continuum, as Professor Vittalkar says. So we are helping the patients in continuum where they are shredding their past luggages, isn't it? So if we keep this mindset, na, we can help so many people. And uh, when I if I say that whatever patients I have helped and they relapsed, yeah, true, they are taking the alcohol, or again they are going for the behavior these issues and all. But there is a very great difference. They are under control. They can modify their things if they don't like it. See, they are taking up jobs, they're going for study, they're opening their minds, they are coming out of their rooms, and that is where homeopathy has helped them. It's not that they didn't go to the alcohol or that behavior again. No, it is not possible. It's before and after is not possible always. So what we have given them, what homeopathy has given them after its addition, that is very essential, and it is so superior to anything else, I can say that. So that is my that is a purpose of this presentation. Yeah, any cases? uh,
Yes, Dr. Rekha can speak
yeah,
now.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, you have presented it very well. So, I wanted to have some cases from your side so that what is the addiction and how did you treat it and how is our medicine helped, and also in that particular case, have you taken the help of allopathy or not, like that? If it is in that procedure, we will be understanding more. So, do you have any cases like that now to tell? Or
uh, yeah, actually I didn't get allopathic. You mean to say I have sent them to psychiatric care as well in that way?
no, yeah, even then, even though they are taking psychiatric medicine,
Yes,
so we have helped them with that, and along with that, psychologist we have sent,
yes,
or along with that, we have sent to
yeah,
any rehab or like that,
yes,
de-addictions, like that. So,
correct.
what are the cases like that, and what medicine you have
Yeah,
given, what is the like that? Hmm?
yeah, I will tell in two this thing, two parts. One part is especially in alcohol addiction, homeopathy is top. It helps in so well. And in de-addiction centers, I have heard that they beat them, they tie them up, and that medicines are very nauseating and they suffer a lot. So most of the people, they don't want to go to de-addiction centers. It is like a hell for them. So that is one very important point, because we can persuade them to take homeopathy on that basis. Okay, we should convert it for our advantage. And alcohol cases, what I have treated, most of them delivered by their spouses mostly, or mothers, in that way. So very early case was in around 2009 or something like that, which I remember. And that is my house help. Her husband was reaching to that point where he has to take alcohol when he opens his eye mornings. He will beat her. They had multiple police station chariots. They had gone to police station so many times on domestic abuse. She will go and cry, and it happened. So at that point of time, he very young, very young. She was around 20s, in her early 20s, and he is in little more 25 around. And then I gave medicine to her and told, you give in his food for my disbelief, and then it stopped. They didn't come at all. To my disbelief, that person, when he go to male, that Ayyappa Swami male they will wear, no, then he stopped the alcohol. He didn't touch it at all. His son is studying in a college, okay, government college. Previously, what was it? Domestic abuse and police station. They were going to the police station, parents. Now they have made their children to study in college. So such a big impact. And here I used only Naxwamika and also Syphilinum 1M. Syphilinum 1M, usually 1 or 2 doses are enough, whatever I have seen. Most of the normal alcoholism cases. So this was one case, very, very helpful. And another lady also, he was in the abuse stage, not in the dependence stage. That is, abuse means they have to have lots of craving, but they will have issues with their wives. They will beat them and all this. So for them, for him also, it was a very good, like he didn't stop. It was drastically reduced to very rare social this thing. So these are all standalones. Whenever alcohol dependency comes, it is standalone. We can handle because it responds beautifully. But sometimes, especially in drugs and other things, we have to take help of psychiatric prescriptions as well, where there is a threaten to the person's health, safety. Recently, I had a person, he came around 50. He's a already known case of psychiatric problems. He was treated with psychiatric drugs. Now he has stopped that for since 2 years. He has lots of issues. When he came to my clinic, he was crying like anything. He was sobbing. We couldn't control his thing. And then I asked him to take Aconite that day, 2 or 3 doses. I thought it will settle him down, but it aggravated him. And by evening, his father called, and we can't handle him. He's crying like anything. He's in a very bad state, he told. Then I told, you go and visit Scarf, because I am afraid he will do something to himself. He was in a very pretty bad state. I told him to take Argentum nitricum and go and see a Scarf psychiatrist. He went and they took the whole case. That relieved him most of the problems. Fine. So he was very happy. But by then he was already settled after he took Argentum nitricum. 6 only. Oh. And then within 1 week, he is normal. His psychiatric drugs have been reduced within 1 week. Within 2 weeks, his sleeping pills have been reduced. And actually, I told him, you can stop it. You don't need it, because he is feeling drowsy in morning days. He can't go to work. So why I am telling is, it's very essential to take right decisions at the right time. We know that homeopathy can help. I knew that Argentum nitricum will calm him down, but I was not very sure that at that point of time, if something goes wrong. So it is my way of thing. I don't wait for long. Did this? Is it the thing, ma'am? Whatever you are talking about.
But few more remedies, the cases, remedies which you have used. And
Yeah,
how did
basically, rare remedies have not been much helpful, ma'am. As I told, alcohol completely, it is about Naxwamika, Syphilinum, those two top remedies, and of course, along with the constitutional remedies. And behavior things, usually I use sensation method, and you are top in that, you know very well. And kids respond very well to constitutional remedies, especially Rustox. One 3-year-old child, he was scrolling like anything. We were in a common family function, and that kid was 2.5, 3 years, no speech yet, and he was a hyperactive child, and he was scrolling like anything, whole thing. Yeah, please. You want to tell?
Ma'am, sorry to
And
intervene, but it's almost 10:30. So,
yeah,
ma'am, just
let's wind up.
complete the case. And today, I
Yeah,
suppose we can wind off. Maybe
yes,
if
yes,
there are
yes.
questions and discussions, the
We'll
people in the
continue
group
in
could
the.
put,
Yes,
yes, we'll
I was.
continue in the group itself.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Just continue.
Yeah, yeah. He was scrolling like anything, and one dose of Rustox, I use usually 6C, especially in children. No, belladonna 6C will bring down the fever in one night. One night. So next day morning they will be normal. I don't know why, but 6C has been best potency for my most of the cases. So if unless otherwise it is specifically needed. So Rasta 6C few doses only. He started his speech therapy yielded better. He was not restless anymore. He was smiling. He was at ease, and he gave the phone back to his mother and told, "I want to go and play." So that is the power of homeopathy. And usually, use rare remedies only when everything else has not been helpful. Everything else, so totally out of thing. Then only I use rare remedies. So nowadays I am using little more of since I am using a periodic table, this and all. So I'm learning more remedies. Yes. So one more last slide, Rachana, can you share it again? Not possible, or I will send in the group.
Yes, ma'am. If you could share it in the group, it will be good.
Good.
So
Okay.
that
Fine.
everyone will go through
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I suppose there are people who would be wanting to know about this topic with
Yes.
something which is not very popular amongst homeopaths treating
Yes.
addicts as well as following up with them. Nor
Yes.
many homeopaths have experience with addicts also.
Yes.
So it will be really great if you could share the PPT in the group. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try.
I also request the others in the group to share their experiences if you have cases,
Yes. Yes.
so that by mutual sharing, even we get to learn, we understand various approaches to treating addicts and also alcoholic people, because I suppose they are really rampant all over,
Yes.
especially in cities like Pune. I do find the incidence of alcoholism is
Yes.
steadily on the rise. So something needs to be done, and as a general practitioner also, sometimes it becomes very easy for us to counsel them because they have trust in us, and at a basic level, at least we could do something for these addicts, and then maybe take help of a psychiatrist or a higher institution wherein further help could be uh, uh, taken that way. Yes, Padmaja ma'am wants to say something.
Yes, madam. Not about any my cases, no, because it's already late. So, madam, please explain about that Sunday session once. Then you can share flyer in the group like that, so that people will be knowing. People that
Yeah.
there are 20.
Yeah. Sunday I will be having on this topic. I will present with cases and more additional information about addiction, how we can tackle that, and what are all the other implications, how we can prevent uh, maybe future like addictions, which may lead to addictions, how we can. I'm going to talk
Right.
about that on NAATHA NATA platform. If you are interested, you can ping me. I will send the details. Anyway, I will be sharing the group. Yeah, thank you so much for
Yes,
patient
so
hearing.
I request everyone to
Yeah.
be a part of this webinar. It is certainly something which is worth learning. And certainly we need to know different aspects of the scope of homeopathy in different conditions, in different cases. Yes, and we as a team, if we are well informed, yes, it becomes easy for us to even handle cases. Okay, we
Yes.
may not be able to handle everything, but at least if we know how to handle it and take appropriate action.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
So with this, I think we'll end the session. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Rekha,
Thank
for
you.
the valuable
Thank you
inputs.
so
We
much.
have learned a lot. And thank you, audience, for being here with us. Thank you, Dr. Padmaja Rao. Thank you, Dr. Vaishali, for being there. And
Yes.
good night. We'll
Good
meet
night.
again for another webinar. Please put your inputs in the group and we'll keep on learning and sharing this way.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.